I have been waiting a very long time to do this video. I have been preparing for this video since the start of the year, making what my list would probably be. Sadly, all those movies have been delayed. So, here's my list of my top 10 favorite 2020 films. Okay, before we get into the top 10, I want to list some honorable mentions and some movies I didn't get to see because they did not come out in Canada. First off, we have Minari. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Sorry. The Father, Nomadland, whatever it is, and The Sound of Metal. I think The Sound of Metal, I've been trying to look for it. It came on Prime. I have Prime, but I can't find it anywhere. Anyways, those 4 movies I didn't get to see definitely would have been on this list. Moving on to my honorable mentions, we have Resistance, The Way Back, The Invisible Man, and Bad Boys for Life. All great 2020 films. Love every single one of them. Moving on to my 10th favorite film of 2020, we have Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I did actually review this one. Most of these I didn't review, but this one I actually did review. And I really like this film. I really feel like this film's got a lot of good taste to it, a lot of good cinematography, a lot of great monologues from especially Chadwick Boseman, his best performance yet. Incredible performance. But there's incredible performances all around, and the whole cast is great in this entire film, and I love how it takes place in one area, so we get to learn about the characters and they're going their separate ways, traveling around the world. I love that about this film, so that is why it is in my 10th favorite film of 2020. Moving on to number 9, we have a disappointing film, but still a good film, Tenet. Now, Tenet is just odd. Like, it's so hard to understand. There are some people who do understand this film. I'm not one of them. I've watched it twice now, and I still don't understand how it all connects. I thought it should have been connective. Like, I don't get why they shot the main film because it didn't connect into the main timeline. I just feel like Tenet was a little bit confusing, but it has an incredible screenplay, incredible score, and an excellent cast. Also a great director, Christopher Nolan, my favorite director actually. Moving on to number 8, we have The Gentleman. The Gentleman is just a fun film. This feels like the Knives Out of 2020. It's just a British comedy. You've got some great actors in here. You got Hugh Grant, Matthew McConaughey, Charlie Hunnam, and you got Colin Farrell. It's just such a spectacular cast. This just feels like probably one of the funnest films of the year besides Bad Boys for Life and The Gentleman. These are just 2 really great, fun, adventurous movies, and I just love that about The Gentleman. Like, The Gentleman has so many layers to it, you know? It's not just about selling weed, it's about making a movie script. It's so many things combined. It definitely won't get nominated for anything, but how I do love this movie. Moving on to number 7, we have Da 5 Blood, Spike Lee's newest film. I reviewed it back in June, I believe, yeah, and the video didn't do too well, but it's just that back then I reviewed it, didn't give it the score I would give it now. I would give it a much higher score. Same with like some other movies, I actually brought the way back down, but with Da 5 Bloods, I would bring it up some more because I really like the vibe of it, you know? When the start of it's alright, you know, it's good, but then you move on to when they go to Vietnam and it just gets so much better. I love the colors, I love the setting, I like the actors' chemistry with each other. It just suits them very, very well. And this is another movie that Chadwick Boseman did really well in. Not as good as Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, but he did pretty well. And the main actor, I forgot his name, like Don Levi or something, he was great in this film. I'm sorry if I said his name wrong, or just said a whole different name, but he was great in this film. The whole cast was great. Spike Lee's way of making it very quirky, making it very odd is always fun to see in this type of way, and I just really love this film. Moving on to number 6, we have Disney Pixar's Soul, the newest animated film from Pixar. Now this is a new original animated film from Pixar. I actually reviewed this one, gave it a really high score. I still stand by that score. I just feel like these other 5 ahead of it are better, but Soul is just such a great film. It's got everything you want in an animated film. It's incredible and unique animation. It's got a great score. It's got some great actors inside of it. And it's got a really good plot. Not much more you can ask for out of an animated movie than that. The thing I think they should have done is had more in the real world than the Great Beyond and the Great Before. I just feel like those aren't as captivating as the real world because of all the colors, all how good the people look. Like Disney Pixar really went full out in making how the humans look because they look so realistic. I just love this film so much. Moving on to number 5, we have a movie that no one knew about, Love and Monsters. I didn't review this one actually, but I really should have. I actually saw it in November, it came out October. There is one problem I have with this movie, which is the third act isn't as good as the first 2 acts. I just feel like going on a beach and the Australian is a villain, it's just very unoriginal. But everything else is quite original, and that's why I love that about this film. I also really like how it's kind of like Stand By Me. I know many people won't think that. I know they have the song Stand By Me, and it's probably my favorite scene in the movie, but there's also a scene where he gets leeches on him and he's pulling them off. It just kind of reminded me of Stand By Me. It's such a good film. This one's not like with Stand By Me, but it's still a really, really good film. I do love Love and Monsters. Alright, moving on to number 4, we have a film that practically no one knew about either. Another Round. A Danish film too. Another Round is an interesting one because I do like it. It would be interesting to rewatch, but it's kind of like Parasite, you know? It's a very good film in storytelling wise and unique cinematography. That's why I really like this one. I also think this one will win Best Original Song. I feel like it's an original song, but it's just such an interesting film to think about. And it's a scary thought too sometimes, like a midlife crisis and all this drinking takes away everything you used to have. And it might have been boring, but you had it and it was better than nothing, and now he has nothing. It's just a weird movie to think about, but I do really like this one for its cinematography and storytelling. And that song, I do like that song. Moving on to number 3, we have The Devil All the Time. Hands down, this has the best cast in this entire movie list. You got Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, Bill Skarsgård, Sebastian Stan, Maya Wazowski, and you got Jason Clarke. Just such an incredible cast you got all around. The Devil All the Time is just... There's so much good about this film. The performances are absolutely phenomenal. Especially, you know, Robert Pattinson probably gets the best one in here, but Bill Skarsgård is excellent. Tom Holland, excellent. They are all so good inside of this film. The vibe and the setting of this film is just incredible. I just love the old-fashioned, like, setting that they did with all the cars. I know there's a lot of movies like this, but this Netflix movie did it really well, and I know a lot of people probably like this movie. It's not on their top 3, but I love this film, and I can't wait to rewatch it. Our runner-up being The Trial of the Chicago 7. Oh, wow. I remember I was watching another movie critic, and he was talking about, I saw this on his Letterboxd, and it was his first favorite film. I'm like, wow, this must be a really good film. So I decided to go check it out on Netflix, and once I was done watching it, I was in love with this film. This was a great film, like a decade in production, and it finally came out on Netflix. It is a great film, definitely, maybe not worth the wait, but it definitely succeeded in being a really amazing film. It's got an incredible score. It better win Best Score, maybe this or Tenet. It's got an incredible cast. Also, all these movies have incredible cast. Has incredible story, an incredible director. Aaron Sorkin, I believe, directed this one and wrote it. So it's just, there's some just standout scenes that you're like, wow, I didn't even know this actually happened. Like, this movie opened my eyes a little bit about what happened back then, and it's just an incredible movie, and I definitely recommend watching this one on Netflix. But moving on to our number 1, we have Palm Springs. Oh, wow, I cannot stop talking about this movie. This is just my favorite film of 2020 and definitely my top 30 of favorite films of all time. This film is just such a good film. Everything about it is great. The cast, again, a great cast, some great performances, like the 80s synth music. I think that's why I love it so much. It just has such an 80s vibe to it. The story is the story is not too much original, but it makes it in a unique way. That's what I love about this movie so much. It tells a different time loop story. This movie has so many layers to it that it's not just like a time loop movie, it's not just like a science fiction movie, it's also a romance, a comedy, sometimes a drama. It just can be so much. There are so many great lines inside of this film that I just love. That is why it is at number 1 on my top 10 favorite 2020 films. Absolutely incredible. And I believe that if all the movies came out this year that were meant to, I believe Palm Springs would still be on my top 10 list, at least in top 5, still. I think this was such a great surprise in July, and I am so happy. Every time I think of summer 2020, I'll think of Palm Springs and going to rewatch the Christopher Nolan films. So thank you for watching. Leave your list down below in the comments of your top 10, top 5, top 3. It can just be your favorite movie from 2020. I love to see other people's lists because I just love movies. And I hope to see you in my next videos. Thanks for watching.